Hi, my name is Analia Refutation, and I'm responding to Jordan Zergel's main claim that greater penalties will reduce drunk driving deaths. Her first secondary claim is higher rates for drunk driving prove that current laws are inadequate. Her second secondary claim is the cost of stricter enforcement is less than the cost of continued drunk driving consequences. And finally, her last secondary claim is enforcement against previous offenders would substantially reduce this problem. My main claim is that greater penalties may not be the only factor in reducing drunk driving deaths. And for my first secondary claim, previous years' rates of drunk driving prove that current laws are successful. Jordan claimed that the high rates of drunk driving prove that current laws are inadequate. She stated that over 1.4 million arrested. While she did not put an exact year for findings, Loyola University Health System states that in 1996 and 1997, approximately 1.5 million individuals were arrested for drunk or drug driving. Therefore, it is suggested that the laws that are applied today have made a difference. Jordan indicates nearly 13,000 people killed each year. Jordan did not state when this took effect. Loyola University Health System states alcohol-related fatalities dropped from 16,189 in 1997 to 15,935 in 1998. Therefore, Jordan's findings of 13,000 people killed each year proves that current laws have reduced the amount of drunk drivers. For my second secondary claim, the cost of stricter enforcement has lessened due to successful drunk driving consequences. Jordan claimed that alcohol-related crashes cost American taxpayers over $100 billion. She again did not state at what year this information was recorded, so one can assume that her data is recent. However, AAA DUI Justice Link states alcohol-related crashes in the United States cost the public an estimated of $114.3 billion in the year 2000. Therefore, such evidence indicates the cost of alcohol-related crashes has substantially decreased. She then states that due to public awareness, prevention, enforcement, deaths have decreased 48.5%. From 1982, 26,172 people, to 2006, 13,470. This statement contradicts her research, as she wants us to agree that we need stricter enforcement laws, though based on her evidence, numbers have decreased. For my last secondary claim, previous offenders of drunk driving are aware of the strict consequences but still drive under the influence. In Sweden, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration states the driver may be imprisoned in a facility designed especially for drunk drivers and may be required to undergo a treatment program for alcohol dependency. This charge seems harsh compared to U.S. laws. One might think that drunk driving is not a problem in Sweden. This is false. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration states that officially reported rate in Sweden of 9% is based on police reports of alcohol involvement. Because of the nature of duties of police officers at the scene of fatal car crashes, they are frequently not in a position to judge whether alcohol was involved. Autopsies are carried out on all fatally injured drivers, found a rate of 18% alcohol involvement. It is evident that people will defy the law and instead suffer the consequences that are set in place, such as those in Sweden. Moreover, drunk driving is a problem nationwide. Offenders repeatedly keep getting convicted, not because the laws aren't strict enough, but simply due to the deviant behavior. Jordan indicates 30% of drivers have a BAC of 0.08% or greater. This may be true today. However, based on the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, they concluded that in 1978, 40% to 55% of all fatality injured had a BAC of 0.10% or more. Not only has the BAC lessened, but so has a percentage of drivers. In conclusion, greater penalties may not be the only factor in reducing drunk driving deaths, and that previous year rates are successful. Moreover, the cost of stricter enforcement has lessened due to successful drunk driving consequences. Additionally, previous drunk driving offenders are aware of the strict consequences, though continue to choose to drive under the influence. These points prove that the laws implemented today have made an impact on drunk driving incidents based on previous years. Thank you.
All right, Analia, the proposition's very clearly identified. You had a good layout of the advocate's secondary points. You kind of present a counterclaim on your own, arguing a causality issue is going to be at the crux of this point. On the individual points, you signpost them clearly as you get to each one. I like the explanation that you had on the first point where you're talking about the numbers and basically that there's been a substantial reduction. I think the argument here needs to be just a little bit clearer, but I understand the point that you're making, and that is that the numbers that she represent a substantial reduction from what the numbers used to be like. And I think the inference here is that the laws have gotten harsher, they have gotten stricter, and they are producing the effect that we desire. And it's just there's a point at which there's either diminishing returns or there's something that we can't do anything about, those kinds of things. And I think you get to that a little bit on the third point when you were making the comparison to the Swedish laws. On the second point, you basically make the same argument that says costs have substantially decreased based on the data that the advocate used versus the data that we had from almost 20 years ago, indicating that we've had a 48% decline in those costs. That seems to be pretty substantial. And again, that seems to suggest that the laws are working. So the argument that you're making, I think, is the right one. And then you get to the third point, which is the argument about whether or not we can do anything about existing offenders. And the advocates seem to have suggested that stricter enforcement would work. And their argument was that, like in Sweden, they have these particular punishments. And you're saying, well, Sweden hasn't solved their problems either. And I thought that that was a very direct response to that particular point. Sometimes the statistics you present on that third point, when you're talking about the rates of alcohol, it wasn't clear whether you were talking about what was going on in Sweden or the United States. At the end, it was a little bit clearer because you did say at one time, we were at 40 to 55% of people who were in these fatal accidents were involved with BACs over a particular level, and now we're down to whatever it was, like 18% or something like that we had now. So I think that's a pretty good summary. It would be just a little bit more effective if you kind of talked to us a little bit more instead of reading all of the argument and kind of explained it as you went along. But I thought that the reasoning and evidence was excellent. Thank you.